Right, so we move on to Bretonnia turn 2. Top of the board, my Pegasus Knights come back onto the board after killing the direwolves, so I just fly behind his lines. I take my lone remaining fast cav, put him right at the corner of that Graveguard unit. I'm going to force him to either slow down and give me time to deal with those heavy hitters over on the left side of the board, or even better, if he charges me, I can flee with that fast cav and have some really juicy counter charges set up. So that's what he's doing there. Over on this side of the board, if you look at the upper left, I took my Pegasus Knights. They could see the Black Knights past the Vargulf, and this is kind of a mistake my opponent made. He wanted to protect the Black Knight's flank using that Vargulf, but he put him too far away. So I could see the Black Knights, and there was room for me to fit, so I just declared the charge and flew right over the Vargulf's head. You can see the BSB unit with the Knights Errant. They rallied. Brought my general over to assist either with the Cairn Wraiths or with the Vargulf. And combat went real well. Between wounds caused and combat res, I was able to wipe out half that unit, which was about as good as I could have hoped for. Next turn I'm going to just be wasted. I know both of these units are going to break in combat after my opponent's next turn. So at least I got the Black Knights cut in half. So Vampire Counts turn 3, charges his skeletons into the back of my Knights Errant. The skeletons actually kill a Knight Errant, which is just frustrating with the 2-up armor save. But the White King is the model within the Black Knights unit on the far right who's unpainted. He has a killing blow on a 5 or a 6, and he killing blowed 2 of my Knights Errant. Amazingly, if you look on the left, the Cairn Wraiths with the Banshee charged into the rear of my Pegasus Knights and didn't do a single wound. That's 3 attacks each, strength 5. That's just really some bad rolling on my opponent's part. But it's all a moot point because I'm going to auto break anyway. And look, I auto broke. This was confusing, which way people flee, and we assumed that my units would flee away from the largest unit that they were in base-to-base contact with. Excuse me. But that was confusing because if my Knights Errant are on the other side of his Black Knights, do I flee into them? I don't know, but whatever. The Knights Errant unit was chased down. The Pegasus Knights were able to escape. Now this ended up being one of the highlights of the game. We'll get to later, but the Vampire, this is the guy who had the Scout Special rule, and he was hanging out, he killed the archers and was hanging out in front of the Graveguard. He charges my Trebuchet, and with his 3 attacks only killed 1 of my guys. And I didn't get any wounds back, but I have an outnumber, and so we tied combat. So it gives me the option next turn to charge into him with my Grail Knights. But what I don't have a picture of, but it becomes very important, is he, on the same turn, took his Graveguard unit and charged my Fast Cav. And this is a previous slide. See the Graveguard and the Fast Cav on the right? On his turn, he charged the Fast Cav, I fled. And so imagine him being about 4 inches towards my side of the board and turning more, offering his flank to my big block of Knights of the Realm. And with his Vampire that's standing out in front of him out of the way, having charged my Trebuchet on Bretonnia turn 3, I was set up for just a 4-way charge on that Graveguard unit. The big block of Knights of the Realm into the flank, the Grail Knights into the front, the small unit of Knights Errant that's to the right of the screen also hit the front, and my Pegasus Knights, even though it doesn't look like it on this picture, but again, this is 1 turn later, they can see the back of it and have plenty of distance, so they charge into the rear of it. And the biggest thing I was worried about was the Knights of the Realm failing their fear test, because they are the ones that are going to get the flank and be able to negate rank bonuses. But amazingly, all my guys passed their fear tests. So you really can't ask for a better opportunity than that. So over here, I decided the only way to beat that Cairn Wraith unit with what I have on the board is just going to be through combat res. So I go ahead and charge in with my Knights Errant. I think this stupid Banshee Howl either didn't kill anybody or maybe killed 1. I go in there, my BSB does a wound or 2, but then just through sheer combat res, I pop the rest. I think those Cairn Wraiths killed another guy or two, but it just didn't. I mean, I had outnumber, I had 2 ranks, I had 2 banners, virtue of +1 combat res. I mean, however it happened, I ended up causing a total of 9 wounds. And so there's just 1 wound remaining left on the Banshee. So I don't look forward to having to take that Banshee Howl on his next turn, but I really can't complain about how that turned out. So my 4 units crashed into the Graveguard unit and killed, I mean, just 12 or 15 of them, I think. Had so much combat res. His Vampire Lord came back and killed 1 Knight Errant. You can see him missing there. Other than that, he just popped. All of them gone. But we were sitting right in front of this lower right skeleton unit, so I overran, and I kind of had to overrun with everybody just to get him out of the way. And I was hoping that nobody would end up in front of the skeleton unit, or maybe that the Knights Errant would go into their side and hold them up in case I did. And I got unlucky with both of them. The Knights Errant weren't able to make it to the flank, and my Grail Knights are sitting right in front of those guys. And if you remember my game from a couple weeks ago, the same thing happened. He had skeletons charge the flank of my Grail Knights, beat me through combat res by 1, and I broke and fled off the board. So I really don't want anything like that to happen in this game. But if you remember too, in that Graveguard unit was his general. The general's dead, so he's taking leadership tests across the board, not really affecting him a whole lot, except the Banshee, who is no longer in front of my Knights Errant. That thing rolled 1 higher than its leadership, and it got killed. So Banshee's gone, Graveguard unit gone, Black Knights down to half strength. They still have the Vargulf. So on his turn, he charges into the flank with his skeleton unit. Look down at that trebuchet. I forgot to say this. On my turn, we fought. The vampire killed another one of my trebuchet crew, so I only had 2 guys left. They fought back, and one of them actually got a wound on the vampire. So we exchanged wounds. I still had an outnumber. I beat him by 1, and he already had a wound on him. So that vampire got... Well, I did a wound to him, and then got another wound on combat res. So my trebuchet crew took out a vampire. Highlight of the game. I love it. It was great. So over here he took his Black Knights. He charged my Pegasus Knights. I decided to flee. Took his Vargulf and charged into the front of my Knights Errant unit. And keep in mind that the risk he's taking there. I probably am going to have outnumber. I'm going to have a rank, 2 banners, and the virtue of +1 combat res. I start out at +5 when we determine combat res. And he did 1 wound on me. My BSB did 1 wound on him, and he loses 5 wounds through, or 1 wound in combat and 4 wounds through combat res. So Vargulf charges my Knights Errant and gets popped through combat res, which was the only hope I had, is how to beat those people was through that, and so far that worked very nicely. The bummer of the game, the stupid skeleton unit charges into the flank of my Grail Knights. He beats me through combat res by 1. I fail the break test. I take 3 dice to roll for my flee movement, and I roll 3 1s. So I lost 8 Grail Knights, a damsel. Then I had to start taking panic tests, and the small unit of Knights Errant fled and ran right to that skeleton unit in the lower right, and I lost them. I mean, I had this game so wrapped up. It wouldn't have even been a massacre. It would have been an annihilation. But, oh, what a bummer. 600, 700 points just right there. So I double charged that unit with my guys and totally wiped him out, or at least wiped him out enough, got him later. Double charged this unit. The Knights Errant unit is free because the Vargulf is dead, so they were able to get into the flank of the Skellies. So I've got a bunch of combat res in front and some power coming on the side. I decided to charge my general into the flank of the Black Knights, just to hold them up to give my Pegasus Knights time to rally. This is the trebuchet. After they killed their vampire, went back to their machine, dropped a rock on top of that 15-man unit of skeletons, and killed 10 of them. So I'm really digging the trebuchet this game. My general does a wound on his White King, but I still lose combat by 1, but I hold. Yeah, I take care of the skeletons, and I'm going to, by next round, I'm going to finish them off the rest of the way. There was a unit of skellies on the hill with a vampire, so they're completely destroyed now. And at this point, my opponent doesn't want to play anymore. He's pretty much conceded. All his skeleton units are dead or going to be dead real soon, so he says, hey, let's just finish the Black Knight's combat and call it a massacre. And the White King gets killing blow on my general, so kills him. And the board looks like that, with my Royal Pegasus fleeing. But again, it's only turn 5. I still have 2 of my turns left, and I figure if you're going to concede the game, then anything of mine that's fleeing off the board gets an automatic rally. So he's got nothing left except those couple Black Knights and the White King on the left. I've got more than half my stuff left. I easily beat him by 1,100 deaths, points of units killed, several table quarters, several banners, so it's a massacre to the Bretonnians. Go revenge.